Welcome to this reading comprehension lesson. In a moment you will hear a short text, and then 5 questions about it. Listen carefully, because every answer is hidden somewhere in the text. The text is called the 4-day work week. A growing number of companies around the world have begun experimenting with a 4-day work week, typically reducing working hours without cutting employees' pay. Trials conducted in several countries have reported encouraging results. Many participating companies noted improvements in employee well-being, reduced burnout, and, somewhat counterintuitively, stable or even increased productivity. Proponents argue that a shorter week forces employees and managers alike to eliminate unnecessary meetings and streamline workflows, ultimately making better use of the time available. Skeptics, however, caution that these results may not generalize easily across all industries. Sectors requiring constant staffing, such as healthcare or manufacturing, may find a shortened week far more difficult to implement without additional hiring, which could offset any cost savings. As more large-scale trials are conducted, both advocates and critics agree that more data is needed before the 4-day week can be considered a universally viable model. That was the text. Now here are the 5 questions. Here's a question. What is a defining feature of the 4-day workweek model discussed? A. Reduced pay along with reduced hours. B. Reduced hours without cutting pay. C. Increased hours with the same pay. D. No change to the traditional schedule. The correct answer is B. Reduced hours without cutting pay. The text describes it as reducing working hours without cutting employees' pay. Here's a question. What surprising result have trials reported, according to the text? A. Productivity decreased significantly. B. Employee well-being worsened. C. Productivity remained stable or even increased. D. Companies lost most of their staff. The correct answer is C. Productivity remained stable or even increased. The text notes somewhat counterintuitively, stable or even increased productivity. Here's a question. Why do proponents believe the 4-day week can maintain productivity? A. Because employees work longer hours each day. B. Because employees are paid less. C. Because companies hire more staff. D. Because it forces the elimination of unnecessary meetings and streamlined workflows. The correct answer is D. Because it forces the elimination of unnecessary meetings and streamlined workflows. The text explains a shorter week forces employees and managers alike to eliminate unnecessary meetings and streamline workflows. Here's a question. Which sectors do skeptics say may struggle to implement this model? A. Healthcare or manufacturing, requiring constant staffing. B. Marketing and design. C. Remote-only technology companies. D. Freelance consulting. The correct answer is A. Healthcare or manufacturing, requiring constant staffing. The text mentions sectors requiring constant staffing, such as healthcare or manufacturing. Here's a question. What do both advocates and critics agree on, according to the text? A. That the 4-day week should be banned. B. That more data is needed before drawing final conclusions. C. That the model has already failed everywhere. D. That no more trials should be conducted. The correct answer is B. That more data is needed before drawing final conclusions. The text concludes both sides agree that more data is needed before the 4-day week can be considered a universally viable model. That is the end of this lesson. You read one text and answered 5 questions about 4-day week. In the next lesson we will read a new text and practice again.